Sine Mora, yeah, I'm going to be pronouncing that from the whole way in, is an extended version of the original Sine Mora game that was released in 2012. Originally developed by Digital Reality and Grasshopper
Cobalt
Manufacture
King
and
calling
extended by
headquarters.
THQ Nordic and Gyroscope Games,
1200.
it's a 2D bullet
4.
hell shooter with steampunk
76.
stylings.
12. Beginning descent. Do you copy? Cobalt King calling
The
headquarters.
story is told through character narrative scenes in between each of the
76.
missions, with the odd talking
12.
point delivered here
Cobalt
and there
King.
during the missions themselves.
Navigation says
The
we're on
characters
target
are all
above the city.
anthropomorphic animals and are
Counter-gravity
all fully
anticipated.
voiced very
In
well by
3,
the cast.
2,
Each of the characters
1,
has a feeling of
and
being
it's
a
a
real
go.
entity, despite the fact that you'd be told almost next to nothing about any of them. The character designs are nice and very well detailed, while also being quite outlandish.
22. Hit him
This
hard.
makes sense as the designs were done by none other than Mahiro Maeda, a character designer for Neon Genesis Evangelion. The game takes place in Seoul in the aftermath of a nuclear bombardment which ends what's known as the Eternal War between the Aleal Empire and the Yankees. The story consists of two separate groups of rebel Yankees waging a near-suicidal guerrilla campaign against the Empire, each with their own reasons for doing so. You'll bounce back between the two groups from past to present and back again, due to the Yankees' inherent ability to travel through time. The first group is led by a former Empire pilot, Renatra Koss, and appears to be a simple revenge story. During the bombardment witnessed at the start of the game, Koss's son refused to drop his plane's nuke and was immediately executed by his fellow officers. His storyline sees you hunt down the officers who was on his son's plane, as well as annihilating as much of the Empire's forces as he can. The second group is led by Akita Triad and appears to be a simple resistance story. They're solely aimed at destroying as much of the Empire's infrastructure as possible in order to stop the completion of the project, a device devised by the Empire which allowed them to manipulate time in a similar manner to the Yankees, and which allowed them to bypass the Yankees' defences and win the war. I use the term appear to be at the start of each of those because a steampunk bullet hell shooter with talking animals who can time travel was never going to tell a story straight. In fact, the original Sine Mora was voiced entirely in Hungarian just to emphasise the crazy factor. Now I won't spoil the story here, mainly because attempting to explain it would sound like the ramblings of someone who's just sustained a massive head injury, and also because it's just not necessary to understand the story to enjoy the game. And this game is very, very enjoyable. First off, it looks incredible. While you're restricted to 2D movement, the environments are all rendered fully 3D, leading to many people to describe these types of games as 2.5D, and they are fucking wonderful. They include a stunning mix of outlandish designs and intricate detail. The scene transitions are eye-popping and you're constantly noticing new little things every time you play the game, such as the individual shells falling out of the planes as you shoot. All the enemies are very well designed and stream onto the screen at you in waves, giving you no respite. Make no mistake, this is not a game to play to lower your heart rate. It's when the larger enemies come into play that the game truly shines. They'll pop in and absolutely spray a wall of fire at you, requiring some real deft skill to dodge and a large amount of punishment to destroy. In keeping with the time travel mechanic of the story, Sine Mora doesn't use a health bar, but rather every hit causes you to lose time and all of your power-ups to eject themselves from your plane. Sine Mora also features a number of environmental hazard sections as well, from dodging a giant wrecking ball to picking your way through a cave of fire to hiding in a cloud of metallic debris to avoid detection. These sections will test your piloting skills to the limit as well. The background music deserves a real good mention here too. Its 70s inspired electronica beats take in a lot of the steampunk vibe of the game and serve as an ideal backdrop to the action that's going on screen. Even more impressive when you consider that it was composed by none other than Akira Yamaoka, the same composer of the Silent Hill soundtrack. But this is a bullet hell shooter, and bullet hell shooters are all about one thing: the bosses. Fuck the bosses up in these games, and you needn't have bothered making the rest of it. It won't matter. That's how important boss design is to these style of games. And I'm happy to say that they fucking nailed it. The bosses are the real standout element of Sine Mora. They range from a giant bipedal construction robot to a multi-tiered sub to an armoured city-destroying mech and a massive cyborg hornet. They're all wonderfully detailed, engaging and challenging. Now, rather than copy-paste the usual style of shooter bosses where they just repeat a rote set of movements and attack patterns, The bosses in Sine Mora all try to adapt to your playstyle in an attempt to blast you out of the sky, or out of the water, whichever. That'll make sense when you play the game. This means you can't just sleepwalk through the game regardless of how many hours you put into it. You need to constantly be aware and active to the boss's movements and attacks in order to successfully counter them. Getting past these guys is genuinely quite challenging and thrilling. The picking through the storm of bullets while trying to blast away, the frantic scramble for the power-ups if you get clipped, the nervous wait for the correct opening to unleash your super weapon. It's all really quite good with no real weaknesses. They all act as satisfying gatekeepers, and beating them really does feel like a nice accomplishment. If I was to point out any flaws in Sine Mora, if for nothing else but to balance out the review, I would start with the story. It's quite sparsely told and it can be incredibly difficult to follow at times. In fact, there's a high chance the description I've given at the start of this video will probably be one of the better explanations of the story you'll hear, which isn't saying much. It's certainly a lot more detailed than the one you'll get from the game itself. Compounding this is the quite short game time. At normal difficulty levels, you'll be able to hockey your way through the game in about an hour and a half. I've heard the higher difficulty levels result in longer playthroughs due to an extended alternative ending, but I don't believe the reported 5-hour game times. The difficulty levels ramp up quite sharply as well. For the love of God, please don't start this on hard or you'll never fucking clear it. Some of the sections almost require you to know what's happening ahead of time just to get through them. It's also possible to, in effect, soft-lock the game by losing your power-ups at the very wrong moment, which will leave you critically underpowered to beat the next section. This means you'll have to repeat the whole game over again. Also, shooters like this are about as niche a game genre as it's possible to get nowadays that doesn't involve porn. And Sine Mora will not be adding any more to those ranks. Despite it playing and looking a lot better than the vast majority of the genre, it doesn't push the boundaries in an attempt to attract new fans. There's a high chance that you'll already know if you'll enjoy this game within the first 10 minutes of game footage. But please really do get into it. It's a really excellent game, and it's well worth the cash. And it's fun. Do you remember when games were just fun? And that's all there really is to it. For all the gripes about the confusing story and short playtime, this isn't a game that was designed to tell a great story or to keep you engaged for weeks on end. To paraphrase the misattributed Einstein quote, this fish cannot climb the tree. But this fish doesn't want to climb the tree. It wants to blast the fucking tree into tiny bits with a photon cannon and burn whatever's left. All hail the fish.